Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj. Welcome to Maharaj's daily class, Zoom class. Today the class will be given by Her Grace Radha Vinodini Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Hare Krishna, Sirjana, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for joining. Today's verse, can I share my screen? I didn't
Yes.
really prepare so far, but I will do it shortly. So, okay, here it is. So today's verse will be from Canto 3, Chapter 2, and there will be verses number 31 and 32, because the first one doesn't have any commentaries from Srila Prabhupada. So let's start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vipannan Vishapanena Negriya Puja Gadipam Uttapya Paya Yadgavas Tattoyam Prakritistitam. Srila Prabhupada's translation. The inhabitants of Vrindavan were perplexed by great difficulties because a certain portion of the Yamuna was poisoned by the chief of the reptiles, Kaliya. The Lord chastised the snake king within the water and drove him away, and after coming out of the river, he caused the cows to drink the water and proved that the water was again in its natural state. So we will continue. Verse number 32. Ayajayad Gosavena Goparajam Dvijottamai Vittasya Choruparasya Chikirsan Sadvyayam Vibhu. Srila Prabhupada's translation. The Supreme Lord Krishna desired to utilize the opulent financial strength of Maharaj Nanda for worship of the cows, and also he wanted to give a lesson to Indra, the king of heaven. Thus, he advised his father to perform worship of Go, or the pasturing land and the cows, with the help of learned brahmanas. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Since he is the teacher of everyone, the Lord also taught his father, Nanda Maharaj. He taught his father, Nanda Maharaj. Nanda Maharaj was a well-to-do landholder and owner of many cows, and as was the custom, he used to perform yearly worship of Indra, the king of heaven, with great opulence. This worship of demigods by the general populace is also advised in the Vedic literature, just so people can accept the superior power of the Lord. The demigods are servants of the Lord and deputed to look after the management of various activities of universal affairs. Therefore, it is advised in the Vedic scriptures that one should perform yagyas to appease the demigods. But one who is devoted to the Supreme Lord has no need to appease the demigods. Worship of the demigods by common people is an arrangement for acknowledging the supremacy of the Supreme Lord, but it is not necessary. Such appeasement is generally recommended for material gains only. As we have already discussed in the second canto of this literature, one who admits the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not need to worship these secondary demigods. Sometimes, being worshipped and adored by less intelligent living beings, the demigods become puffed up with power and forget the supremacy of the Lord. This happened when Lord Krishna was present in the universe, and thus the Lord wanted to give a lesson to the king of heaven, Indra. He therefore asked Maharaj Nanda to stop the sacrifice offered to Indra and to use the money properly by performing a ceremony worshipping the cows and the pasturing ground on the hill of Govardhan. By this act, Lord Krishna taught human society, as he has instructed in the Bhagavad Gita also, that one should worship the Supreme Lord by all acts and by all their results. That will bring about the desired success. The Vaishyas are specifically advised to give protection to the cows and their pasturing ground or agricultural land instead of squandering their hard-earned money. That will satisfy the Lord. The perfection of one's occupational duty, whether in the sphere of duty to oneself, one's community, or one's nation, is judged by the degree to which the Lord is satisfied. Om Gyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Chandramani Swaminiti Namini. So, I was a bit puzzled because these are two different pastimes with two different messages. And I decided that I will focus on the first one. There were several reasons. One is that as we read a lot from Srila Prabhupada's purport about the second one, I thought that we can also focus a little bit on the first one. But I just say a few thoughts about this second verse, because it is also very important, as Srila Prabhupada emphasizes this, that many times we are a little bit enchanted by the material nature, that there can be higher principles or higher personalities than the Lord Himself, and sometimes this change of thoughts and ideas are so subtle that we don't even notice. And here, for me, this ending sentence was very, very powerful. Sorry, that the perfection of one's occupational duty, whether in the sphere of duty to oneself, one's community, or one's nation, is judged by the degree to which the Lord is satisfied. So it is very important that even when we are speaking about the so-called material levels of our duties, our activities, even that has meaning and value only if it satisfies the Lord. I just mentioned one example which I came to encounter. For example, in our country, in Hungary, there will be election on the exact weekend when we will have disciples meeting. And it's always so tempting that, oh, I have to, serve the serve the country with my opinion. And obviously, we have certain desires about which way the country should go on in the future. But Srila Prabhupada so many times mentioned that all the politicians of Kali Yuga are rascals, and whoever we vote to is always a bad choice. So why not vote for Krishna? And I also was thinking that even if I think I choose the so-called better option, whom I consider the better option, if I lack Krishna and lack Guru in the decision and neglect them, actually neglect them, then this decision will never be good and never will bring any good results. So uh, sometimes we see that these so-called duties are in line with Krishna, and sometimes they seem to be apparently against. For example, sometimes it happened that Krishna asked Yudhishthir Maharaj to lie. And lying generally is not considered to be a good and beneficial activity. But when Krishna asks, then that's the highest principle. And this pastime, this Govardhan Lila pastime, is about this, that we should always be conscious what is the highest principle. And it's always Krishna, and always the pleasure of Krishna, always the will of Krishna. And if our activities are in line with him and his will, then it will always be beneficial and always will be auspicious. So there are so many, so-called pious activities written in the Vedas. For example, even devotees like to go to astrologers and following the mode of goodness. And these are good, but these are just tools and facilities in order to please Krishna. So if we use them in any other purpose, for any other purpose, then they won't bring any good results. And that's the most important thing, that Krishna is the highest, and Krishna is the essence of everything, if there is any good results. So this is about the the second verse, and I will go back to the first one because there was some other reason why I chose to speak about this, because these demons of Vrindavan represents different anarthas, and here we see the pastime of defeating the snake Kalia, serpent Kalia, and he represents envy. And envy is very, very important in our life to get rid of this bad quality. And by meditating on Krishna's activities, we can purify our hearts from this this anartha. So I would like to speak a little bit about the philosophy connected to it, and then narrate the pastime, and just trying to recognize the certain aspects of the philosophy in the pastime. So in the among the pastimes of defeating demons, there are two demons actually who are, well, in our language there is no difference between snake and serpent. It's just one word for the two. So Aghasura and Kalia are very similar in their bodies, snake or serpent. And if we examine, they are representing very similar type of anarthas. So Aghasura is the embodiment of cruelty and violence, and Kalia is the representation of brutality, treachery, and malice. And both feed from envy, actually. But Kalia used to be said that he's the exact embodiment of envy. And this is a very interesting quality, this envy, because sometimes we don't understand what envy is actually in reality. So in common language, we usually see that envy is when someone has something, and I desire this person quality or possession. So I would like to have that. And in Vedic philosophy, it's a broader concept. Not It's just one type of representation of envy. So, for example, Srila Prabhupada wrote in one of his purports that everyone desires to be the greatest personality in this material world. And dvesha means envy. Dvesha is one of the words, the Sanskrit words for envy, not the only one. I will speak a little bit about this later. So, dvesha means envy. When one becomes envious of Krishna or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one thinks, why should Krishna be the all and all? I am as good as Krishna. These two items, desire to be the Lord and envy of the Lord, are the beginning cause of material bondage. So, this is very important to examine our hearts and looking for envy, because envy is the original cause why we are here in the material world. Because the same way we are envious of others, we tend to be envious of Krishna, because Krishna is the one who has the biggest possession, and he has the best qualities. He's the best in everything. So if I'm envious of my friends, of my neighbors, of my relatives, of my colleagues, and whoever who possess such a small quantity of good qualities and good things, then how much more I would be envious of Krishna, who possesses everything. So, so this quality is in relation with Krishna. That's one thing. And there is another word for envy, that is matsarya. And it's defined as feeling miserable at seeing the happiness of others and taking pleasure in the sufferings of others. And this is very important, how we can define envy, because that's actually, this is this malice which is mentioned for Kaliya. So it can be manifesting in so many different ways. So, for example, Srila Prabhupada in one morning walk spoke about that we kill cows because we are envious of them. They have the right to live, and we don't want to let them live. So one thing is that obviously some people want to enjoy the taste of meat, but there is this other reason, which Srila Prabhupada said, that envy is also behind this, that someone has the right to live, and we just don't want to let them have this possibility, this right. Envy also manifests differently in when sometimes we are envious of superiors, sometimes we are envious towards our peers, and sometimes we are envious towards our juniors. And envy manifests differently in these different cases. Also, envy is connected to I just read this one because it's very instructive. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote that the ignorant Bhatta Jivas are tightly bound in the material world by six things: lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and envy. These are said to be the six categories. These are transformations of the fivefold miseries: ignorance, forgetfulness, self absorption, attachment, and jealousy. In association with material attachment, lust develops. From lust, anger arises. From anger, delusion appears. Delusion means unlawful material greed. From material greed, moha or bewilderment of memory appears. From moha, intelligence is destroyed, which means that one becomes mad and bereft of the understanding of what is right and wrong. By madness, one is destroyed, which means that the living entity becomes ruined by envy. This instruction has also been mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. You may remember this verse. So there is lust in anger, and in greed there is anger as well. So, etc. We can go all the way, and it means that in madness there is greed, anger, lust, and in enviousness there is madness, illusion, greed, anger, and lust. So envy contains all the five before envy. So this is this is very important because envy is the root cause of everything, and there are different types of envy which were mentioned by Srila Prabhupada. So one is kala, and the name Kalia comes from this. It means that envy leads to the destruction of other living entities. And we see this in case of Kalia that with his poison, Kalia poisoned all his surroundings and destroying all the living entities. Another, which I already mentioned, is Dvesha. It's it was written that it's a dangerous envy that affects blood circulation and leads to hatred of others. And another type of envy is asuya, which is a subtle envy that leads to finding faults in others. So we see here that it's already the more subtle type of envy. It's not always criticizing, not always so visible. But when we are looking for faults in others, it means that we are envious. And the fourth was Matsarya, which I also mentioned, the a total envy that affects everyone without discrimination. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentioned that the word, this Matsarya, envy, is explained in the Vaishnava scriptures that this is the competitor of divine love, prema. So we see that that they are just the opposites, envy and prema. And if you examine the meaning of Matsarya, which I spoke about, that we are happy when others are suffering, and we are sad when something good happens to others. It's just the opposite of love, because when we love someone without any discrimination, we want them to be happy, to happen, good things to happen to them. And this is just the opposite of envy. So these are totally not compatible. There is no compatibility between these. And these were some categories, but also envy has four different levels. And the first is very, very, very subtle. It's called avamani, and it means that I think that I'm better than others. So there is some kind of material quality, and based on this quality, I think that I am better because I am prettier, I have a better talent, or I'm stronger, I clean better, or something like this. So I have one quality which I think is, oh, I'm superior to others. And if there is this mentality in ourselves, it means that the consequence will be that I will only get a portion of the results of my devotional service. So I won't get the full result. The second is a little bit less subtle, but it's still subtle. That previously I thought that I am better, but now I'm also thinking that the others are bad. So I pick some kind of bad quality in the other person, and I identify them with this quality. So I think that, oh, he's such a bad devotee, he's so proud, criticizing others or whatsoever. And the other person is the soul. So the body is also not the true identity of the other person, of course, but I identify them with the bad quality. And the result is that I won't get the result of my devotional service at all. The third level is even even more gross. And it's basically when I don't just think bad about others, but I wish them to that something bad happens to them. And the result will be that I won't feel peace. I won't be peaceful. And the final, the grossest level is when I'm openly criticizing and blaspheming others. So when this bad will manifests outwardly. And the result is that the person who does this eventually will lose faith in Krishna. And this is the reason why atheism is growing in the world, because more and more envy manifests. And actually, envy is the quality which is the borderline between spiritual and material, because as Srila Prabhupada said, in the material world, everyone is envious. And in the spiritual world, Vaikuntha planets and Goloka Vrindavan, nobody is envious. So if we want to check if we are spiritual in our mentality or not, check if I'm envious, if such and such qualities manifest on myself or not. So let's dive into the pastime after this introduction. So um, the previous life of Kalia, which resulted this life, was that there were two sages, Vedashira, who was the descendant of Bhrigu Muni, and Ashvashira. Um, they had some kind of conflict. The former was living around the temple, and this Ashvashira came to meditate in the temple, but Vedashira was he didn't like that someone else also comes, and started to criticize that, hey, what are you doing here? This is my temple. You don't have any place here. Just go away. And Ashvashira said that this temple doesn't belong to you or to me. This is the Lord's temple, but you are hissing like a snake. So be a snake. And so this is how he chastised him, or yes. And but this sage also became angry, and he said that. Okay, then you should be a crow, and this is how became these two sages in later in next lives. They became these different kind of animal bodies. So Ashvashira, he became a crow, and according to the scriptures, he was later the one who narrated Ramayana, and Vedashira became Kalia. And he uh, he was born from Kadru, daughter of Daksha, with many other snakes. These the snakes and serpents, and in this life as Kalia already. He was trying to escape from Garuda, because Garuda is a big eagle, and eagle body, and they eat snakes. And obviously, he was trying to save his life, and took the shelter of Vrindavan, and moved into the river Yamuna. And his name comes from the word kala, which means black, iron, a certain type of poisonous snakes, darkness, night, and also using others, criticizing. And Iya, the ending part, is who belongs to there. So whoever has the qualities of Kala is Kalia. So he was living in Vrindavan actually for quite a long time, and and it was because Krishna didn't punish him in the beginning because he was just living there. And, this is just like how envy works in our hearts, that at first we just commit small mistakes, and then the mistakes will be bigger and bigger and bigger. And then at some point, it will be too much for Krishna, and then the devotee leaves the association of devotees, and how to say, his faith will be gone in Krishna. So for sometimes it works out, and somehow the he didn't cause serious harm to the inhabitants of Vrindavan, but at some point it became too much. And and it was very interesting that we hear that usually the demons who go to Vrindavan are not killed by personally by Krishna himself, but Vasudev Krishna. But in this case, Kalia was punished personally by Krishna. He was dancing on his hoods. So Kalia was poisonous and didn't take shelter of any of the bridge passes, and this was the cause why he was mm, banished from Vrindavan. So, according to the scriptures, Harivamsha Purana, it was said that when Kalia was living in this Yamuna, even the demigods couldn't approach the 8 miles area of this part of the Yamuna, and on the two shores of the Yamuna, no trees grew, and because all the poison destroyed everything, and fishes, crocodiles were not there. Even birds didn't approach this part, and couldn't even fly above the river because even the air was so poisonous. So this was actually a part of the river when it became a small lake. So it was a lake part of the river, and this whole lake was full of fire and sorry, I don't remember this word. So anyway, so it was full of fire because of the poison was so strong, and even when a blade of grass fell into the water, it just burned because of this strong poison. And Kalia was a serpent who had many heads, and 100 of them were the main heads. And his body was huge. It almost covered the whole lake, and was shaking with anger. So it was really an intense, very intense scene. And one day, the Krishna and the Gopas with the cows were going that direction. Balaram was not there at that time because he had a birthday, so he stayed at home. And so Krishna was thinking that okay, I should do something with Kaliya because this situation starts to become worse and worse. And so they went to a place where they didn't go before, and it was a hot summer day, and the cows became thirsty. So they started to wander to the Yamuna and started to drink of the water. And obviously the water was full with poison, so the cows died, all of them. And when the boys saw this, they became so desperate that, oh, we cannot live without the cows. This is our fault that this happened. So they also drank of the water, and because they couldn't protect the cows, and they also died. And actually, it is said that they didn't die, but Yogamaya covered their life air. And this was all Krishna's plan, of course, to send Kaliya away. So he also arrived and saw what happened, that all the cows and the cowherd boys are are dead, and he started to lament that, oh, what shall I say to my mom and to all the coward men, and because of course devotees are in the heart of Krishna, so they are just, um, in his heart, and he is in the devotee's heart, so there is a very intimate connection. And Srila Prabhupada said that Krishna looked at the boys and they came back to life. And according to Jiva Goswami, it was that as it happened, like he looked at the boys and his heart met of this scene, and his heart came out this way as tears. And as the teardrops fell on the boys, this nectar brought them back to life. So he brought them back to life one by one, because as they came back to life, he was personally reciprocating with each of them. And so this was very intimate, very personal scene, as um he brought them back to life, and he embraced them very tightly, and they were really in ecstasy. It was such an intense scene. And then, of course, Krishna paid attention to Kalia, and there was one tree, and there are different versions of how this tree was alive. One version is that as Krishna's feet touched the tree, it came back to life. Another is that previously Garuda was some nectar drop came from his beak, and that fell on the tree. So that's why it was still alive amongst all the poison. And the third version is that this tree had this very strong hope that Krishna will come and touches it with his feet. So anyway, Krishna turned to the boys and told them to take care of the cows. I will come back, and he took up the chadar, put it on his waist, and also made a knot out of his hair. And from this tree, he jumped into the lake. So there were huge waves, and the boys saw these huge waves, so they were afraid and just ran away. And so Krishna splashed the water very very loudly, so he catches the attention of Kalia, and Kalia became very very angry, and he saw that Krishna is really beautiful, but even even if that was the case, immediately he beat the chest of Krishna and coiled around Krishna. So even Brahma Vaivarta Purana said that Kaliya even tried to swallow Krishna, but he couldn't do it because Krishna became very fiery in his mouth and came out. So he spit Krishna out, and so at first Kaliya was trying to. Uh, he was coiled around Krishna and in a very very tight grip, tried to how to say, so very very strongly just trying to coil around him, and meanwhile the bridge passes also came, and they were very very frightened. Lord Balaram tried to calm them. So so he did two things, which actually shows that this is what the guru does with us. One thing is that he stopped the bridge passes from going into the water because they wanted to go after Krishna. So the guru also does with us that he tries uh, to to make us not go into the wide lake of or wide ocean of the material world and the sinful activities. So he tries to keep us from danger. And the other thing he did was Lord Balaram shouted to Krishna that just stop doing this, remaining in the coils of Kaliya, because the bridge buses will die this way out of fear. So this is the second thing that the guru also cries out to Krishna for our sake, that please Krishna help your devotees who are in this danger. So after some time when Krishna heard Balaram's shouting, he decided that okay, let's start this nice activities of dancing, and he escaped from Kalia and started to dance on his head, and so it was a very beautiful scene. Also, the demigods came and they played mridanga, and Krishna was jumping from one head to another head. There were so many heads and beautifully dancing. And the demigods played different kinds of melodies, different kinds of rhythms. And Krishna started to dance in such a fast way that after some time they couldn't follow with their beats. And Krishna even tried out some new kinds of dance steps because the gopis were also there on the shore, and he was a boy and they are girls, and Krishna was trying to impress them that how nicely he can dance. And so while he was dancing, it was very intense for Karya, and this poison just started to come out from his mouth, and in the end, all parts of his body were in such a pain that uh, he couldn't even speak. He lost all his strength, but in his mind, he surrendered to Krishna. But the reason why Krishna was so merciful to him and didn't kill him, like all the other reasons, was that the Nagapatnis, the wives of Kaliya, came to Krishna, and started to offer beautiful prayers to Krishna for Kaliya. And and because of these prayers, Krishna didn't kill him, but sent him away. But it was also described, it was very nice that even before it happened, Krishna also took the gopis, and even with the gopis, he had this dancing pastime. So I think I just conclude shortly because time flows, and and so we see that Karya got amazing mercy from Krishna. It was already merciful that he was personally dancing on his heads, but another mercy was that he wasn't killed but sent away. And the reason it was also explained that it's similar to how Srila Prabhupada sent away his disciples, because Karya got the mercy and became a true devotee of Krishna, and this way he could spread the glories of Krishna in Vrindavan, in all other parts of the world. Although it is said that Srila Prabhupada said that Kaliya went to Fiji, and there is also a temple which is dedicated to this pastime, and Krishna in his Murti form dances on the head of Kalia. And just a little bit of we spoke so much about envy and how Kalia represented this quality, but of course there is the question, what can we do with the envy in our hearts? And it is said that we are powerless against this quality, this mentality of envy. It's actually Krishna who can just chase this envy out of our hearts. But still, we need to try our best to get rid of envy, because our endeavors show Krishna that we truly want this to become free from envy. And generally, there are three different verses which I wanted to mention in this regard. So one is that in Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, Krishna says to Uddhava that for him who constantly meditates upon my presence within all persons, the bad tendencies of rivalry, envy, and abusiveness, along with the false ego, are very quickly destroyed. So when we can remember all the time that in other living entities, Krishna is there in the heart, then it reminds us to properly approach these living entities. Another point in this regard is that I forgot to look for the English version. Sorry, I will look it up here. So there is this verse that, therefore, through charitable gifts and attention, as well as through friendly behavior and by viewing all to be alike, here it's a little bit same point like the previous one should propitiate me who abide in all creatures as their very self. Sorry, I don't know why it was collected here. I lost track, but it a little bit elaborates the previous one, the previous verse, how we with this proper attitude, proper approach of others, we can serve them in a proper way, which will help us be in a service attitude to get rid of envy. And the fourth one is third one, but sorry, third one is from the pastime of Dhruva Maharaj. And as I mentioned, in different on different levels, envy manifests in different way. And here we read that every man should act like this. When he meets a person more qualified than himself, he should be very pleased. When he meets someone less qualified than himself, he should be compassionate toward him. And when he meets someone equal to himself, he should make friendship with him. In this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world. And why I mentioned that this is connected with envy is that in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that what we actually do instead of these suggestions, that generally when we find someone more qualified than ourselves, we become envious of him. So instead of become envious, we should become pleased. We will get the mercy of a superior person. When we find someone less qualified, we deride him. But as we already mentioned, this is also the manifestation of envy. And when we find someone equal, we become very proud of our activities. And what happens that we become competitive. So by following this etiquette and this mood, we can make our endeavors in order to counteract with envy. And the important thing is to hear about envy, so we have a chance to recognize envy in our heart, and by understanding that this is counteracting developing love for God and for other living entities, we can make our endeavors to counteract this quality. Sorry, I didn't think this will be so long, but I'm curious about your feedback and your questions, and let's open up for discussion.
Thank you, Mataji, for such a wonderful class on envy. Dear devotees, if you have any questions, please raise your hands. If you're not able to speak, then you can type your questions on the chat box and I'll read it out for you. Rasa Sundari Mataji, would you like to go ahead?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj and Vaishnavas everywhere. So I was just wondering, so let's say if we figure that we are envious of something or someone, or we find faults in some people, or like if we think we are superior of ourselves, so how should we act as Vaishnavas in such situations?
When we find fault in others?
When we are in general, we feel like we are envious of something or someone. So how do we act, or like, yeah, how do we act towards someone as a Vaishnava? Like, we know we are envious of them, but.
One thing is that it's mentioned so many times that cultivating a service attitude towards other is always helpful, because if I think that someone is inferior to me, then it's difficult to serve, because then we feel that, oh, I am the superior, so I should be served. So by serving others, it always reminds us that I'm trying to please this person. So because why I try to please this person? Because he or she is very important and beloved of Krishna. And so this verse, which I mentioned from Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, that if we can remind ourselves that Krishna is in the heart of the other person, and he sees how I behave with this person, and oh, will he be pleased? I don't think so. So if we can remember, the root cause is that we think that we identify with our own bodies, and while we identify with the body, we will identify others also with their bodies. But it's always helpful to try to remember that they are spirit souls, and in their original state they are perfect, and they can serve Krishna in such a way that no one else can. So they can also give a very unique type of pleasure to Krishna, which I'm not able to. And they are very important to Krishna. And if I behave with them in such and such way, criticizing, fault finding, then Krishna is there in my heart and their heart also, and he sees it, and he will be displeased. That's one thing. I think the problem is that many times it's not easy to remember this, and also the problem is, sorry. So it's difficult to remember this, and this is why we should hear about this a lot, because hearing also supports remembrance. And the third thing is, which I think sometimes we neglect this because it's not so directly seem to be in connection with this topic, but we get the process of our sadhana, like hearing about different spiritual topics and chanting the holy name and so many different kinds of service. And lately I had some realization that I attended to a course about, there are these courses about how to develop our subtle body, like the mind, like how to communicate, how to uh, get to know our inner self, how the mind works, and such things. And we get nice material techniques in order to understand these topics and develop. And I, at some point, I realized that okay, there are these nice techniques, but and they are nice on paper. I mean, so but what happens in practice? That, for example, I should communicate nicely with another person, but when I'm triggered, then I become angry, I become frustrated, I become resentful, and it's so difficult to to approach the other person in a nice way. And this is where spiritual practices come into the picture. And my conclusion was that, okay, material techniques are nice, but they can be used in a beneficial way or a non-beneficial way. And actually, spiritual practices which give the real essence that they will work, because if I, for example, purify my heart with the holy name, it means that in such a situation, I will be less triggered because I can be more humble. But how to learn humility on a material level? It's just not possible because we have to understand the spiritual uh, how to say philosophy and whatsoever our situation, our really reality from a spiritual point of view, because otherwise there is just no point. So, oh, I'm right and the other person is wrong. But if there is the spiritual understanding and the heart is not into sense gratification, into attachments and whatsoever, then we are able to react in a detached way. So even when we think that we are not working on non-envious reactions, but just following the spiritual process, even that's helpful.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for the question. But of course, some nice extra endeavor is always nice.
Thank you, Rasa Sundari Mataji. Shivakumar Prabhu, would you like to go ahead?
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you for today's class, Mataji. Very insightful, as always. And in one sense, it's a little scary, Mataji, I should say, when you are kind of listing down the 3 levels of envy. I was going like, yes, I have this. Oh, no, I have this too. Oh, it's more problematic than what I thought. So it's like a, CT scan, doing a CT scan of the body and showing how how deep the infection goes inside and seeing a report of it. So in that sense, it's really scary to attend these kind of classes, Mataji. But thank you at least. I think there is no shortcut. We have to get exposed to the reality of what is inside. So Mataji, one question I had, very right topic for myself. Few days back, there is this senior devotee who have had a grand success. A success as in grand recognition within ISKCON for all the services that he was doing, who I am associating with actually. And I must say, it was kind of a mix of 2 emotions, Mataji, that on one side I was happy for him to a significant degree. And at the same time, there was also this negative emotion of envy of his recognition, of his success. Then I started introspecting as to why I have this negative emotion towards him. And just in my introspection, I may be wrong, it may not be comprehensive, my introspection, but it just occurred to me, it just came out that I have certain expectations from him. And for some reason, he's not able to fulfill. Either the expectations are wrong, or I am looking at a wrong person to fulfill those expectations. But this is just the state of our kind of relationship. So it looks like the expectations are the mind is using the expectations that are not fulfilled as an excuse to have this, hold this negative emotion towards him. And I just wanted to hear a few words from you around this as to how I can approach this, Mataji. Like,
it's a little bit difficult for me to understand the problem because I understand the conflicting emotions, but I think the situation can depend on what kind of expectations there are. So sometimes expectations are connected to real needs in ourselves. And that can be difficult, but sometimes it's not about real needs, but sometimes it's about some extra desires. And it's also interesting to introspect about if that person can only fulfill these needs, or I just selected
okay.
by myself that this person should be the one fulfilling these needs. So these are very different situations, I suppose. Recently, I heard something which I'm still meditating on. So it's not from Shastra, but it was from some course that that needs are never connected to one certain time, one certain person, one certain situation, because. For example, one need is the desire to be loved, to be appreciated. Another is to be properly fed because we have to maintain the body, and it's not like we can fulfill this need in only one certain way. So it's just interesting to think about that if you have these expectations, and there are some needs behind it, but if these needs can be satisfied in other ways, so if it's necessary to be this person.
Okay.
But another point which was helpful for me, because at some point I realized that there was one very senior devotee whom in my mind I used to criticize his classes for certain reasons. And maybe it was right, maybe it was wrong. I'm not really one to judge it, but at some point I just realized that actually it's not about if it's right or wrong, but why I'm so much addicted to meditate on this topic, why it's so important for me. And I realized that, oh yeah, this is envy. And the interesting thing is that sometimes we think that if I admit that I have this fault, then it will be worse for me. Obviously, the false ego is affected, and it's hard for the false ego to tolerate such thing. But in another sense, when we admit that I have this fault, then I become free from it, because it just means that I realize that, okay, Krishna, I'm envious now, but I'm not able to do anything about it. I just try not to think about it, but sometimes the mind wants to. But this way we get the freedom to give this attention to something else, not focus on this topic, because I understand that, okay, maybe he's at fault or not, but I'm definitely at fault. So I focus on my fault instead of his. And because it's not a meditation anymore, it becomes easier to tolerate and not focus, not meditate on it all the time.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank
This
you
is
so
very
much for the
helpful. I will
question.
just listen to the answer and meditate on the points that you shared, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Shiv.
you.
Amrita Mataji, would you like to go ahead? Mataji, you're on mute. Amrita Mataji?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. It's so nice, Radha Vinodini Mataji, to see you after a long time. I'm very happy to hear your class again, as usual, all insightful, all glories to your service. So my question was, um, how can we do prayers to the Lord without envy? Um, Maybe we do have envy. That is why we are here, of course, in this material world. But I, if I say I want to, maybe for a period of time, I want to keep my envy to the side, and I want to offer something pure to the Lord. How can I do that? Is it possible, or is it something we can do something about it?
I'm a bit puzzled because now I'm not really sure in our offerings how envy manifests or in our prayers. Because
Say for example,
yes.
yeah, if I give you an example, so we are praying to the Lord. Something, if we are praying, say something from Narottam Das Thakur, Narottam Das or Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We're praying some bhajans, or we are offering some bhajans, and there are prayers in it. And if while doing that, if we are thinking of something which is, which is not pure, and which is maybe which is envious to others, that is, although we are offering, but something is distracting in that. So you get that? I hope I'm making sense.
I think it's just for me it seems like it's the mind is wandering, and sometimes these thoughts are envious, but the basic problem is not necessarily the envy, but that the mind is not focused on Krishna.
Yeah, maybe you can say that.
Am I right? Maybe I'm just trying to understand properly.
Yeah. You can say that, yes. In a way, you can say that.
Yeah, because the root cause of envy is also the desire for sense gratification. So obviously, when we get rid of our desire for sense gratification, we won't be envious of others because we won't desire to have anything which the other person has, because if the desire is mainly to please Krishna, then there is no other desire. So it's just, while we are purifying our hearts and these material desires go, then these will also naturally go. My understanding is that we need to have some endeavor to find taste in spiritual practices, because it's like a scale. There are the material pleasures, there are the spiritual pleasures, and when there is not enough spiritual pleasure, then material pleasures will be the dominant. And we can just try to neglect them and suppress them, but they will come out in some way. So, but as Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, if we have a higher taste, then we can easily deal with the lower taste. So, we also speak about anarthas, but sometimes it's mentioned that we are not trying to be anartha conscious, but Krishna conscious. The main thing why we try to neglect all these material stuff is because if they are not there, then we will have the space to fill with spiritual things, with Krishna conscious things. So the main goal is always to focus on the spiritual. And my understanding is that yes, some kind of self-control is needed, like controlling the mind, controlling the senses, not to be engaged so much in material pleasures, but the main focus is also to just try to connect everything with Krishna, and that will purify our heart, our mind, and ultimately it will be helpful. But I know it's a long-term long-term solution, and somehow we need to try to work it out on a short term, because that way it can be effective. For me, this is how it worked out, that I really try to find the happiness in this spiritual. And actually, this is also Krishna's way, because this is why there is the varnashram system, because there are people who find pleasure in making profits. So Krishna says that, okay, then be a Vaishya and offer that kind of activity to me. Or someone likes to lead others, then okay, be a Kshatriya. So everyone has different types of nature, how we can get pleasure, but that can be connected with Krishna. And let's find the way how we can connect it with Krishna, and how to get happiness in serving Krishna. Because if there is happiness, there is love, then there is no taste for these lower type of things. And it becomes more natural to the mind that move into the direction of the more pleasurable types of things. That is my approach, but of course some self-control is needed, because once I heard this, that first comes Nishta and then comes Ruchi. So some self-control is obviously needed. I'm not sure if it was helpful.
Yes, definitely it was helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, it's not always easy, because we would like to be more efficient in approaching Krishna, and sometimes we just cannot skip all these detours.
Yeah, of course, it is a process, of course, and it cannot be in one day. It need endeavors, it need a lot of things to worked out. So as you mentioned quite many points, and this all is a part of process. So I understand. Yeah. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, just one point to add, that it's always helpful to look for devotee association, because much happiness comes from relationships, and glorifying Krishna together is so tasteful, and doing it alone or in the association of materialistic type of people, it's much harder. And so we can always get inspiration from devotees, which is helpful.
Yes, exactly. I think that is one of the last hammer which you hit. Devotee association is quite important, because if I talk about myself, then there's a lot of materialistic people around me which is associating with me. But then somehow I have to make endeavors to, in some or the other way, we have to be engaged with the spiritual energy, which can help purify eventually our prayers as well. So yeah, and of course, as you said, self-control is one essential part for that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, I also experienced that sometimes once in a month I used to visit my parents in another town, and it's so much harder to do the daily sadhana there. And I heard it from other devotees. For example, I used to speak with some Matajis who live in our temple in the ashram. And, they daily do their sadhana. And it's always when they visit their home, their parents, their family, everything becomes so much more difficult for them. They also told this. So, yeah, in a more beneficial in circumstances in the association of devotees, everything is so much easier. That is, for example, why Srila Prabhupada did it this way, that in the morning, devotees gather for a morning program, and japa time together is so much easier to focus on the holy name in the association of devotees in the morning program than when we are doing this at home.
Yes, totally. I agree with that. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you for the wonderful answer.
Thank you for joining and for the possibility.
Rajajanapriya Mataji, would you like to go ahead?
Hare Krishna, dear Radha
Hare Krishna.
Vinodini. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Sri Shana, and all the devotees for the everyday class. In this topic of envy, it's something that I was thinking about because, of course, envy. I surprised myself feeling envy. Although I don't want to, but feelings come. And I one day I felt really bad because that feelings were with me, that feelings of envy, and I started to feel very bad because I don't want them, and it was I why I feel this, I don't want this and everything, and somehow this thought came to my mind that so I want to check with you and all the devotees if it's that can be okay, that because it was useful for me, but I don't know if I am wrong. The
Yes,
thing
please,
is,
we appreciate every kind of tips how we can deal with this.
no, please help me because I don't know if it's okay, but I think it can be something interesting, because I thought if Krishna is the ability in all the people, I went to the point that at last we are envy of Krishna, because this person has an ability that I want, so I feel envy, but the ability is Krishna, it's not that person. So when I thought that, the feeling went away. I couldn't be envy in the same way. You understand? Because of course, if I am not wrong, I understood that we are in this material world because we were envy of Krishna. So it's the original envy, and it's the same all the time. The original envy. We envy a friend or someone, companion, and we are really envied because they have this benediction from Krishna to have some ability that I want. And the other thing is, I remember Guru Maharaj when he told me in one particular moment, and then he repeated other times to all the people, that we must be grateful. And somehow I connect that 2 points, because we are envy and we are not grateful. I don't know if it's if you can understand because
yeah, it was very nice because again, when someone has something which I would like, then Krishna is there in two ways. One way is that Krishna made the decision to give this thing to the other person. And as you mentioned, he is also this thing which the other person got, because he is the talents in every person. He even speaks about it in Bhagavad Gita. And yes, so we try to think that, oh, I know better than Krishna. but obviously he knows better. Usually the problem is that in the heat of the moment we are not so conscious to be able to choose these thoughts, and this leads back to this process that, you know, anger comes from lust and etc., all the way to the lower levels. So everything comes back to lust. So the origin of all this process is lust, and that's why we are not able to think properly. But there are so many clutches from Krishna that we can cling to, like what you mentioned, that this is Krishna in the other person manifesting as some kind of talents. This is Krishna's decision. Krishna is there in the other person's heart, and he or she is very dear to Krishna, and I am the servant of devotees, even this person. So I am the servant and just trying to serve the other person. Whatever we can remember of all these things, that's helpful. But we need to think with a clear mind, and that's the key point here. That when we forget about who am I, and who am I in connection with Krishna and with the other living entities, when we forget this, that's the problem. Yeah. But very nice. Thank you so much for sharing, because it really added such a nice point to all the others, and we can have some new hints how to fight with this envy. Thank you. Oh, and thank you so much, Sirjana. You are so patiently waiting. Sorry for going over time.
Is it okay to conclude the class here with your permission? Is that okay?
Yes, thank you so much for.
Thank you for the wonderful class, Mataji. Thank you everyone for joining today's class. We'll see you all tomorrow. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Chandra Maharaj ki jai, Radha Vinodini ki jai.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Haribol.
much, Radha
Thank you so much
Vinodini.
for the
Thank you
class.
very much.
Thank you so much for today. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Mataji. Very
Thank
much
you, Mataji.
helpful and practical. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Mataji gives always amazing classes.
Yeah, very much practical. That's
Yes, yes.
perfect.
Your mercy and Guru Maharaj's mercy.
Thanks a lot, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.